Okay, we'll move on to monthly operation report. No slideshow?
Slideshow.
Of course there is.
So, once again, the month of August was an uneventful month out in the fields.
No news, it's good news.
Facetiously
Uneventful.
speaking.
Everybody just lounging around in the pickup trucks.
Yeah. 65 service line repairs across the 6 water systems. And you'll see a little bit of this in the report, but 400 plus USAs, underground service lanes, our folks respond to. So they have 48 hours to respond and mark or write, no conflict with water or sewer. 171 of those are up on Lance Pass. So,
Who's doing what kind of work?
well, a lot of that is PG&E underground. So PG&E is taking all their above ground infrastructure and putting it underground.
I think we drove past it yesterday.
Yeah, they're really bolstering the transmission system, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, I thought we would start again down in Rancho Calaveras because we've taken a break there. Past couple ops reports. This guy's on. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so this is an interesting one. Excuse me. Clements Place, kind of hard to see, but 4 separate leaks are on that service lateral that has 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 full circle clamps on it already. So the guys, when they find stuff like this, they just go ahead and replace that section. You can see what they cut out in the image on the left. They actually cut out at the tap too. It was leaking at the tap. So they put a whole new tap saddle on and then run a new section of poly tube. So that's what a new tap saddle looks like. You can see it on the main, the AC main there at the top of the screen. And this is kind of what the old tap, it's just threaded right into that old AC pipe. So a lot of the time the threads, any of the epoxy around the threads will break. So, just more of the same. I think the Genuine crew had 45 repairs on mains and on service lines in the month of August. So you can see that's kind of the hole they're working in, the image on the left, and then the backfill with the temporary asphalt in the image on the right. This was a USA related to PG&E setting power poles off of Highway 26. Not a lot of water, but there's some. So this auger bit bored into our 6-inch water main. So the challenge here is when our folks respond is to not just completely shut that off and allow all that muddy water to flow back into the system. So you really want to keep positive pressure until you can clean and expose the area and then get in there and make a repair.
So do you shut the water down a little bit?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the hole where they bore, you just have that kind of just boiling out. You minimize so that you can overcome the water that's coming out of the hole with the vacuum truck is really what you want to do.
Gotcha.
So you can expose it, see what's going on, and then you clean that area, and then you can put a full circle clamp, like the image on the right, and avoid a blowing water advisory.
So why would they be drilling anywhere near up? I mean, we've got good maps, they've got metal
Well,
detection, they.
We don't have good maps.
We
Yeah,
don't.
so that's the challenge is so kind of throw it all into the pot, depends on the location. It could be the map. It could be a locate bust. So this pipe can be very difficult to locate. This asbestos cement, if it doesn't have a wire on it,
Was that one of the 400 USA finds that we did?
that would be, so this would be one, I believe. I'm not sure if this was a USA locate bust on our end, but there's a lot of back and forth between PG&E and the utilities. If we mismark and we tell them, no, there's nothing right there, go ahead and dig. And they hit it, it's on us to repair it. If we mark it and they hit it, then it's, and so we have a little bit of back and forth that goes on there. PG&E usually has a minder on the job to help account for this work. And then obviously the ops folks here are up to speed on what happens. But there's so much work going on that invariably CCWD comes out ahead at the end of the month.
But at the end of the day, literally at the end of the day, can you still see those marks? Do you know where they?
Well, it depends on unless they took the asphalt out, unless it's just plumb gone.
Right.
And you might have to, so some of those USAs are what we call remarks. So, hey, we need you to come back now. We've done a bunch of work. Now we don't know where the heck anything is anymore. Can you come back and mark it again? So that'll happen. So.
Damon, I have a question.
Yeah.
You call that a concrete pipe. Is that what most people would refer to as transite?
That is, yeah, I believe AC, some folks call that transit, yes.
But how widespread is that material used in?
I think it would, I would say about 75-80% of our systems are this pipe, AC transit.
Throughout the county.
Throughout the county, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And then the rest of that 25 to 30 would be C900, plastic, PVC,
Mm.
ductile iron, some steel. Not a lot of that left anymore.
So
We have an earthquake here. Is that stuff likely to crack and rupture in multiple places?
Excellent question. So I can show you, actually, not even an earthquake, when the soil changed, like when the
Expansion, contraction?
yes, when the humidity or the amount of water content in soil changes. Usually we see this in the springtime or in the fall. We'll get on AC pipe, we'll get what's called a shear break, but the ground will shift and it'll just like a perfect circle, like a crack, perfectly around the pipe. And that it's a quick repair, but we usually see that when the conditions of the soil change. And so if you were to imagine an earthquake, you know, of some magnitude, yeah, we have a lot of breaks, for sure. Valve raise, we talk about this monthly. This is always a good idea when you find a buried valve, bring it up to grade. Kind of like part of the conversation that Kevin was talking about with paving. It's always a challenge when it comes to paving. We're not on the ball and we're not locating our valves. And, you know, there's not a conversation about who's got the grade rings and who's got the valve lid. Maybe we'll run into that situation where they can be buried. This is an interesting one. So we had to cut in and replace a valve so that we could shut a water line off to fix a leak. So, here folks cutting into the asphalt. So you can see, like, if there was a USA here, how, you know, and that asphalt is in really good condition. I'm kidding. But, you know, how it could just disappear after the work's taking place, and you have to get in there and redo the USA marks. And so here we are, we have an old valve. This looks to me like bluebell pipe, I would say. So this is really thin walled and prone to breaking when you look at it wrong. So our guys have to jump in and they have to cut this valve out. Excuse me. Then they have to install a valve, and then that allows them to then cut in a section of the PVC pipes, which is strong and sturdy, and tie it into the existing pipe. So this is that shear break I was talking about. So the soil just kind of changed here, and that pipe just broke. And the image on the right, you can kind of see water spraying out. It's just kind of like this perfect circle around the pipe. And usually those are repaired with a full circle pipe. This is an interesting one. So a hand dig repair on a service line going up a hill. It's kind of hard to see in the image on the left, but our operator, you can see him laying down. He's on the embankment, just laying there, pulling out old sacks of concrete that were just placed on top of the service line to keep it, you know, stable. So we could then get in there and replace the service. So that's what you see are the old sacks of concrete laying at the base of the hill there. So he can make the repair.
Did you have to see a chiropractor afterwards?
Probably, yeah. Sometimes you just need a hug. A hug them sometimes,
Oh, you're a good man.
especially in some muddy stuff like this, right? So this is 1 inch service line repair. So you can see this gives you a kind of a window. It's kind of hard to see that into how a lot of our services are plumbed. One service lateral coming from the main, feeding a manifold that feeds 2 water meters. You can kind of see that in the image on the right. And then one of these sprung a leak on the bottom of what's called the curb stop. And so folks get in there, tear everything out, fix what has to be fixed, and then put everything back. So you can kind of see that there. Here's another 1 inch service. So just pretty straightforward full circle clamp repair on this 1 inch service up on Evans Pass. Here's a 1 inch meter install. Here you go. You got another different manifold. This one is actually with just a poly tube and a T. So the image on the right got 2 lines going to 2 meter boxes and 2 water meters. And then our folks will get in there and set the meters, clean it all, and make it nice, landscaped, if you will. And so that's the end result, the image on the right. PRV inspections, we talk about how variable the pressure is up on its pass and the number of pressure reducing valves we have in the hundreds. This one is, as you can see in this image here, it's kind of hard to see on the left, but it's pretty old. And so these are the kind of PRVs we're hoping that we can replace ideally with some of the grant funds from the AMI project, get up there and allow us to optimize the pressure throughout all of the systems, which in turn results in a reduction in energy use and equates to more accurate water supply to meters. So folks get in there, do maintenance on these PRVs. It's critical. If they fail, you send high pressure to community or residents, it can result in a lot of issues on a homeowner for the homeowner. So this work happened actually in September. So I'll share pictures of this from the image on the left, but there's a full circle clamp there in the right. See that kind of that stainless steel looking clamp in the image. And that's a pop of a section of pipe. Well, that sprung leak some years ago, but it feeds the shopping center, the Big Tree Shopping Center. So in order to replace that, because that's not, a permanent fix, we have to come in at night and shut that down when most of the businesses, if not all of them, are closed. And so this is just assessing that work. The construction crew is going to go out, they're going to get the materials list, they're going to make a plan with the distribution crew, and then they'll jump in and get it done. Interestingly, this past month of August, there's a lot of use on the slurry line. Two customers were using a heck of a lot of water. And they were noticing that there was water quality issues. We would get a lot of turbid water and the pressure would fluctuate. And we went out and investigated, and the water coming in from the canal was great. We have a pressure reducing station on that pipeline. There were no issues there. And then we're pretty confident that the amount of draw they were taking at any point in time, they were actually almost kind of fighting each other. And so it's something we're going to need to pay attention to in the future. They each have 1 inch and a half connections, and they're some distance from each other, but obviously the speed at which they pull water will affect the speed at which that pressure reducing valve will operate and can allow that water line to somewhat fluctuate. And so dirt can become stirred up in the bottom of the pipe, and they can pull it into their water trucks. So
the turbidity was like lining of the pipe or something, or?
It's dirt, sediment, sand that has
Built
been in
up.
there for,
Yeah.
quite some
How
time.
can where you have the clamp underneath, I mean, that looks like 1 inch thick steel all the way around. How would it, does it crack? Does it just erode till it leaks, or?
I'm not sure the circumstances of how the original leak occurred, but if you guys look at the top of that box, you see that bypass pipe, and you see how it's got a flange there. So ultimately there's a T there that connects to that bypass pipe. It's welded. It was okay. So it was a weld.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so as you guys know, when you're in the ground or when you have to deal with gas, you're going to see the metal's going to behave differently. And I have some pictures of that here in an upcoming work order slide. So this is a really cool one. So this is an interesting, I'm not sure how that fire hydrant was originally installed like that. You have this really nice sidewalk, and then you have this little, I don't know, is that decomposed granite or pea gravel little section of the sidewalk, because the fire hydrant was plumbed to the back end of the sidewalk. We'll just make some pea gravel. So our guys ID'd this, worked with, this was, I believe, was this Copper Cove HOA? Copper Hills HOA. Worked with the HOA, the property owner that owns that white fence was great to work with because there needed to be a little bit of relocate. And then our construction crew came in, broke that up, and then they poured the rest of the sidewalk and pushed the fire hydrant up onto the embankment just a little bit. Fire department still has access, get right up to that fire hydrant, and then that fence was moved a little bit. So just improving the system in general, for everybody. This just aesthetically, obviously, it looks way better. There's still fire access, and everybody, everybody's happy. So this was a great one. Pretty straightforward. This is interesting. Construction crew worked in copper to remove a bunch of plant matter that just grows around the sewer pump. So this is housekeeping. The treatment operators really want to keep sewer ponds as clean as possible so that they'll work with a construction crew and they'll bring out equipment like the mini excavator and they'll haul all that off. And then ultimately the ponds end up looking like ponds in the park, which is what you want them to look like, really sanitary. So hats off to the guys who are doing that work. This is improving the West Point shop. So not only were the guys improving the drainage at the shop, they covered this in base rock, and we also ran a water line to where we keep our base rock for leak repair. So that's our backfill material when we fix it. One of these 60+ service lines is with class 2AB base rock. And so now the folks in West Point have water that they can use to spray down the base rock in the summertime and keep the dust out down. Forest Meadows UV system. So this disinfects the treated wastewater after it's flowed through the filters. And there was a walkway in the image on the left where you could walk around that UV trough. So it's full of water with ultraviolet light bulbs, disinfecting the water as it flows underneath the bulbs, right? And so the trough was kind of chest high to me. So it makes it really hard to try to get over here and pull out those UV bulb units. You have to use gantry cranes, some sort of crane. So the operators worked with the mechanics and they built a walkway that you can then run a crane on. So the image on the right, you can now push a crane across the top of that and you can pull the bulbs up, use a hoist, do your work, and you're kind of ground level with everything. So
There's one to submit to JP.
that's another one.
It-
Yeah, yeah,
And that's exactly what
Yes.
they're looking for.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Done.
There's an,
Done. Yeah,
there's an award and probably a little money,
Yeah, yeah,
cash
yeah.
for employees right
Right.
there.
there it is. All right.
Is that a guarantee?
Almost. I don't judge them, but,
So,
Same guarantee as Jack's signature.
Yeah.
this is great. I can't enforce it. Kind of subtle, but a couple things will tell you that this
Retroactive
sewer is main.
responsibility.
Can you guys tell me how you would know that this was a sewer main leak? There's one though. Yeah, the gloves, right? The blue gloves. And then the other one is Eli in the image on the right, looking at his hands. I think that's just like one of the greatest pictures I've seen.
what's he saying? What's that?
He's just kind of like, but you know what's great about him?
Need a new job.
Is
that one or two?
right back in it, right back after. Yeah. This is Vallecito. Vallecito, the sewer lines are all over the map. You can see that image on the right. It's pretty much been blasted by an auger from PG&E trying to get in there and put that. And this is how close we were to that pole. They just set that pole.
Wow.
Look, the image on the left, I mean, there's the pole, the chain's still on it. You know, so those guys are moving, they're moving fast. So hats off to the county for working close to those guys. John is a busy man over there. Some interesting ones from electrical, UPS. So this is the West Point water treatment facility. There's a backup generator for the whole facility, but when the power goes out, the analytical equipment, the power goes down for like 5 seconds and then it kicks back on. And when that happens in a water plant, alarms are thrown. If you consider the turbidity is off the charts, the chlorine residual is gone, it shuts the plant down. So our electricians worked with the operators, installed uninterruptible power systems on the analytical equipment. So it's a subtle thing, but it allows the plant to just not skip a beat. If the power goes out, it just doesn't even realize. So
That's a battery.
yep, the battery. And so they put that on a regimen to replace approximately every 5 years in that for the UPS. This is our Acorn pump station. You guys may have heard of the Acorn pump station. So this is the secondary pump from the middle fork of the McCullum River pump station. So this is our secondary source of supply for the West Point water treatment plant.
CPUDs, water?
That's correct. Yep. So this pump station is on the Calaveras Band of Miwok Native Americans proper. And so this boosts the pressure and allows this water to get all the way to the plant or to the Bummerville Reservoir, either or. So when the plant shuts off, these pumps still operate and they push water to the reservoir. When the plant kicks on, it'll draw from the reservoir, draw from the line, depending hydraulically on how it works. But it's quite an antiquated pump station, and invariably This was a breaker strip, but invariably we had issues there. And so the engineering team and CCWD over the years has worked on projects to replace this whole conveyance system to improve it. So that work will continue. This was that I kind of wanted to highlight what gases can do to piping in the image on the left. So that's an electrical conduit holding a float in the image on the left over that equalization basin at Vallecito. So right over those brown tanks is a big 26,000 gallon basin that's in the ground. You can walk on the lid and it's full of pumps and they push the liquid sewage into the membrane bioreactor plant. And the hydrogen sulfide and the other gases just eat that metal away. So that conduit on the right.
What kind of metal?
So that would, it looks like it's a piece of galvanized tied into some plastic in the image on the left, but in the image on the right, that is elastomeric coated steel. So this is kind of the most robust type of conduit you can get these days. And so as long as you don't nick that coating, and as long as you have those threads covered, you shouldn't experience corrosion at the frequent, it shouldn't last for years and years compared to what happened. So here's the bucket truck in action. So this is I guess we would call this the West Point wastewater treatment plant at some point in time, but this is still kind of the Wilseyville area of that. And so this is really pointing all of our site radios at the facility to where they need to see so they can communicate and we can communicate with our infrastructure. And so Jared's operating the boom from the boom. And then we have folks down here on the ground, looks like a subcontractor working on the job near the generator in the image on the left.
And we're getting close to wrapping that project up. Right?
We're getting really close to wrapping the project up. Yeah.
Nice.
So SCADA system repair. So the SCADA system is the interface between the treatment facility and the operator, and those computers have to work. And so our instrumentation electrical techs are very adept at making sure they stay online and they continue to work. So this is a battery replacement. And they can pull that, basically the motherboard out, put whatever it is they need to replace into it, put it back on, and kick it on, and you can interact with the treatment facility again.
So what redundancy do you have there? Do you have a backup?
SCADA 2, yep. And then there's backups that happen on site, historian backups. So there's 2 machines, 2 systems, and then a backup that's backed up. So to speak. And just so everybody knows, disconnected from the internet. So these SCADA machines are not connected to the internet. They're connected to the treatment facility. UV system repair and lock antenna. So it can be as basic as a fuse, which there were fuses that need to be replaced. It could also be as robust as basically the PLC essentially. So our folks keep some of this stuff on hand. So the electricians have a lot of kind of backup equipment, just in case equipment, particularly equipment that has a long lead time. They will hold on to a couple just in case. So sometimes when you look at the claim summary and you see, it'll say like sewer floats, and they're going to buy 25 sewer floats because sewer floats have a lifespan. Or you might see Monocon, or you might see an HMI, a human machine interface. They're always going to have something kind of in the back pocket so that 2 o'clock in the morning, you can keep the plant running. And then just kind of wanted to touch upon what CCWD experienced last Tuesday morning. It started in the morning with the fires, the TCU Lightning Complex fires. It was interesting. It was like, I don't know, it was like 4:30 or 5 in the morning. And it was, it's summertime. So my wife thought she heard an explosion in downtown Jackson. And we were like, what is going on? What is that? And then we realized, oh, that's thunder. And then sure enough, as I'm driving in, phone starts ringing, fires in people's backyards. And so it was kind of, as you guys know, it was really moving and shaking. It's kind of hard to see in the image on the left. But for the 2-7 fire, which affected Vallecito, Douglas Flat, Murphy's, 6 Mile, you can see CAL FIRE had set up kind of an impromptu meeting site there at what folks call the school, which is across from Red Hill Road off of Highway 4. And our folks were there. So we had, CAL FIRE, CHP, Sheriff's Department, UPUD staff and CCWD staff. And basically just kind of fly on the wall conversation about where they felt the fire was moving. As you guys know, with the Watch Duty app, it's like an essential game changer. When we can pull up real time the weather, which is huge for us because then we don't have to get into Emergency Operations Center's hair at OES and say, has the weather turned? We can see what's going on. So that was really helpful for us, for CCWD in particular.
What kind of service were we able to provide for the firefighters?
So in the Vallecito area, it was literally just communication. So it was, if you need to pull water from this sewage pond, it's full, you can grab water. And that happens generally through the Emergency Operations Center. So the county did not prop up what's called an EOC, Emergency Operations Center, until Wednesday morning. Late Tuesday afternoon, it was pretty much clear that one was going to happen. So until Wednesday morning, it was literally just phone call. So 6 a.m., Copper Fire. I'm on the phone with Copper Fire. Our field staff are on the phone with all of the fire departments. And then for this fire in particular, our staff were just talking to the CAL FIRE folks on site. And they said, we have this, we have that. There's infrastructure in this area. There's critical infrastructure in this area. It kind of helped to inform them, although, everyone, I think, acknowledges that these fires were rapidly changing and kind of on a knife's edge, turning at a 90-degree angle in a lot of ways, like very quickly. So it was an interesting day, though. 22 fires, 4 counties, I think is what I heard. This is kind of that school area, and the image on the left gives you an idea how close the flames are. These photos in the image on the right, a lot of them are taken from the turn on Holiday Mine Road to our treatment facility there. So literally across the highway from the fire. They were pulling from stock ponds. This is that school area in the image on the left, the borate on the truck. Obviously we've seen the burn scar off Highway 4 there. The bluffs, and then just some action shots, of our. So these are our treatment and distribution collection system crews going about their business, taking photographs while they're working. And this has been a topic of conversation here at CCWD about not having to, respond for water and sewer services to one fire, but to multiple fires at the same time. And luckily, this fire ended up being a little over 600 acres. I'll take that, Arrow Fire 5,400. So the fires in Copper, I think one was about 250 acres and one was about 1,400. And so staff are working, staff are trying to understand whether or not they have to evacuate. And the power's up. So we have mechanics, the electricians are running around making sure everything's still operating, functioning. In Copperopolis, we have to optimize the system because we have a little bit of some pinch points when it comes to supply. Like, we can feed C-Tank at a much slower rate than we can draw water from. So we need to be careful about where CAL FIRE pulls water. They did pull some water in Copper for the 2.3 and 2.8 fire, but not a lot. They did draw from our Pond 6 at the Copper Waste Facility, and they did use our property to access the 2.8 fire, but it was minimal compared to the Arrow Fire, which was, post CAL FIRE up on 4 different fire hydrants for 4 days. And so we're in the millions and millions of gallons of water at that point in time. So this is Wednesday morning, the image on the right from the Vallecito waste plant. And you can obviously still see fire and just a lot of dramatic images, as I'm sure you've seen. These are a little, in my opinion, this got a little interesting. So the 2.8 fire, the image on the left, southwest from the Copper Cove wastewater facility. So those are our staff kind of looking at the fire going, okay, this is going to be an interesting afternoon. So this is as the day has progressed. This is the 2.3 fire in the image on the right, which by 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday, on the day of the strikes, it was done. This fire was out. And so and I think it's tip of the cap to the CAL FIRE folks being cautious about how they characterize the status of the fire. These fires came back So this is the 2.8 fire kind of moving along the ridge to the south towards our raw water pump station for copper. So that was our conversation. All of our treatment facilities filled up everything. So normally you have some operating room between the top of a tank, the overflow, and your operating level. And so we fill everything up. And then we increase the plant rate. Even so, the Copper Cove treatment facility flowed at 1250, so 1250 gallons a minute, and we shut down that night. So the plant's rated for 4 million gallons per day, and we were making about what, 1.5, 1.6. So I'll take that all day. So our guys were getting ready to leave, and then they go outside and they're like, I think these fires are like coming back. And sure enough, so this is, the image on the left is looking across above the IGA. So this is kind of continuing the Arrow fire track. And so the fear was that it was going to come over into the Copper Cove shopping center area. And so our folks just paid attention and reported in, and we would respond to the folks at Calaveras OES and let them know what we saw, and everybody kind of just maintained communication locally. The temperature dropped at night, humidity dropped, and these fires, the crews worked all night on these fires to make sure that they didn't get any crazier than they could have. But some pretty dramatic images coming over behind the IGA there. And then that's my report.
Adding to that real quick, just that some of the infrastructure projects we're doing right now in copper, will increase our capability.
That's right.
Especially that picture and behind the IGA is just, scary for us, because there's bottleneck over there in terms of getting water to that side of the lake. And that's the seed tank transmission project we're doing right now. And then the intertie or the
Lake Tulloch.
the water line,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
the intertie that will go, around the lake instead of through the lake. All of these projects are going to increase our capability in terms of making sure we are able to provide as much water as possible. There's always scary scenarios where we're not, and that's the reality of wildfire. But the projects we're doing right now are going to help our capability on that front.
Good report, Damon. Thank you.
Anything else, Damon?